it was just a very relaxed, a trusting, we didn't think about crime until this time. And things changed. Yeah, when the dog barked, you paid a little bit of extra attention. I'm Dennis Hearst, and I was the last person to leave 10050 Cielo Drive the night of August 8, 1969, that had any interaction with the victims other than the killers, of course. I was born in Beverly Hills. So my birth certificate says Beverly Hills, California. And my family had moved to Beverly Hills shortly before I was born, right about the time my older brother was born, and lived at Camden, about 3 houses up from Santa Monica Boulevard, 3 houses north of Santa Monica Boulevard. And my mother's uncle and his wife had a very prominent bicycle store in Beverly Hills, in a very prominent location. They were childless. They were getting older, and they wanted to begin taking life easy. And my father and mother had been avid cyclists. My father was very mechanical. And so they said, why don't you come move to Southern California from San Francisco? And you can manage the bike shop so we could start taking life easier and do more traveling. And then we don't have children, so you'll inherit the bicycle business when we die. And so my parents moved to Beverly Hills in 1950. I was born, obviously, August 8, 1951. The bicycle store was called Hans Ort. That was my mother's uncle's name, Hans Ort Lightweight Bicycles. And that was a reflection of the fact that while a lot of American bicycles in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s even were heavy, very durable Schwinn steel bicycles, the heritage of our family was very much in lightweight European style racing machines. So my grandfather, Ernst Ort, and his brother, Hans Ort, were from San Francisco. And they raced for the Olympic Club in San Francisco as amateurs, Hans winning the 1915 U.S. National Championship on a bicycle. They're both inducted into the Hall of Fame at the Olympic Club up in San Francisco. And they then turned professional and raced in Australia and in Europe starting in 1919, 1924. And when they returned from there and they wrapped up their careers in Europe, my grandfather was actually, when he stopped racing, was the coach of the U.S. Olympic cycling team in the Paris Olympics of 1924. So when they returned to San Francisco, one of the brothers said, I'm gonna open up a bicycle store right here in San Francisco, across from Golden Gate Park. And that was designed to rent bicycles to people, especially during the Depression and stuff. People didn't buy a lot of bicycles, they rented bicycles, and Golden Gate Park was one of the few places in San Francisco. It was great to ride a bicycle. And the other brother said, I'm gonna open up my shop in this town being built near Los Angeles called Beverly Hills. And so I think in the late 20s, he opened up a shop in Beverly Hills, and then on Brighton Way, I think. And then in around 1932, the beginning of the Depression, opened up the store at that current location, the southeast corner of Camden and what we call Little Santa Monica. Maybe it's called South Santa Monica now. So it's the southeast corner there. And so that was the background of the bicycle and why the bicycles really appealed to the sort of the elite and wealthy crowd of Beverly Hills. They were European, they were handmade, they were lightweight, and the bike shop was staffed. We had, I think, 6 or 7 different members of the U.S. Olympic cycling team over the years worked in the bike shop as salespeople or mechanics. So it really had some high standards for proficiency, and really we sold a lot of Schwinns, great bicycle, but we also sold a lot of high-end handmade European bicycles. So the family, we all grew up around the bicycle business, and there were 4 boys in the family, no girls, and we all worked in the bike shop. Usually started off sweeping floors and polishing fenders, but eventually waiting on customers. It's interesting, in my family, people are always saying that, why do you refer to your mom and your dad as Connie and Len? And that's because maybe we were as teenagers, or even when we were in college, we'd be working the bike shop and we had a question from my parents, but they didn't think it was very professional. Say, hey, Mom, how much is this? Or, hey, Dad, what do you think of that in front of a customer? So we referred to them as Connie and Lynn so that we looked like we were more professional employees. Some really interesting times. This would have been really for me in the 60s, into the late 60s. And a lot of interesting episodes. A lot of people say, what was it like? Or who were some of the customers? And I'd grown up in Beverly Hills. I went to Beverly Hills Catholic School. My classmates in my grammar school class for 9 years was Dean Paul Martin Jr., Dino Martin, Dean Martin's son, and Lucy Arnez was in my class, and a lot of interesting people. And in the bike shop, there was sort of the stars of the 1960s, late 1960s. Charles Bronson. Actually, I remember a couple of 3 episodes with him in the bike shop, and he was a very gruff, kind of a bull in the china shop kind of guy, and kind of barking orders to people, and frankly being pretty rude. Maybe that was his persona, maybe that was his real personality. And he would just kind of like, yeah, okay, and I want this, whatever. And then he'd stomp out, and then he had like a private secretary, a guy that sort of followed him around, and he would be much more conciliatory. He'd say, gee, Mr. Hearst, I think Mr. Bronson would really appreciate, and could you deliver this? And is this all taken care of? And he would sort of unruffle feathers and take care of business as Bronson walked out. I remember a particularly funny episode. The bike shop had a front entrance, which is like 45 degrees angle, right on the corner of Camden and what we call Little Santa Monica. And so that was the entrance that customers would go in and out of. But we also had an entrance in the back that went into the mechanic shop. And obviously you didn't want to have people traipsing through there. So we directed traffic through the front entrance. But some people that were particularly good friends of the bike shop were certainly allowed to come in and kibitz with the mechanics and say hi and walk through the store. There was a parking lot behind the bike shop. A lot of people park there. So some people take the shortcut and go through the bike shop rather than around the building, even if they're just going to go out onto Camden or out onto Santa Monica. So one of the guys that was a good friend of the bike shop was Buddy Hackett. And so he comes into the bike shop, and he goes, hey, Mr. Hearst, talking to my father. And he said, yeah, my best friend. He said, he just had a baby, kind of late in life for that guy to be having a baby, but he just had his first baby, and I want to take a gift to the hospital. So what do you have? Do you have some like fun tricycle? My dad said, yeah, we have a really high-end line of like German tricycles, real ball bearings, whatever they were. It was like $100. It seemed like a lot of money for a tricycle at the time. And he said, yeah, let me have that one. Let me have the red one, whatever. My dad said, well, is it a boy or a girl? And I said, yeah, it's a girl. So my dad put a pink or a red bow on it, and Buddy Hackett tucks the tricycle under his arm and walks out and says, yeah, hey, thanks. Well, I was happened to be working again at the bike shop about 4 weeks later, and Don Rickles comes walking into the bike shop through the main entrance with this tricycle tucked under his arm with a big red bow on it. And he goes, Mr. Hearst, he said, my idiot friend, he said, he buys my little baby this gift. She can't ride this thing for 3 or 4 years. What am I going to do with it? And my dad said, well, Mr. Rickles, Mr. Hackett paid all cash for that, so I'll give you cash out of the till, or I'll give you a credit to your account here, or I'll credit your credit card, whatever you'd like. And as he's arranging that with my father, by complete coincidence, I believe, walking in through the back mechanic's entrance to the bike shop is Buddy Hackett. And he says, what are you doing? You're returning my gift. And they started kibitzing back and forth each other in this cutting, biting kind of a way. You could tell they really loved each other, and they were really good friends, and they were great spontaneous comics. I was standing at the bottom of the stairs. We had stairs up to a mezzanine. I had to sit down. I was cracking up. You would have paid money to listen to this routine at a Vegas nightclub. These guys were just really funny and really friendly and just really tough on each other. It was a style of comedy for both of them. Anyway, just lots of great stories like that. I remember Barbara Streisand pulling up at the bike shop. She wasn't going to the bike shop. She pulled up in a big Cadillac Eldorado, and and my dad said, "Oh, you can't park here because this is only for customers." She said, "Oh, I'm just going to the bank across the street. It won't be any problem." My dad said, "It is a problem," and so she wasn't very nice. But there was a lot of wonderful people. One of them was Jimmy Durante, and he lived in a relatively modest house on Rodeo Drive, just north of Santa Monica. And he was a really regular customer. He also had a lot of grandkids. He was a real regular customer of the store. And the fun thing about him was he always paid, probably a matter of pride or style, he always paid for everything with $100 bills. Keep the change. So if you ever bought something that was like $98 or $198, you peel off one or two $100 bills, and that settled it. Of course, you always hoped it was something like for $107, and you peel off two $100 bills, keep the change. That happened on a number of occasions. Very, very sweet man. I also remember delivering bicycles to him and his wife, probably for the grandkids, and very, very sweet people. Really, really interesting background. One other thing that was happening right about this time in the 60s is, we had these young stars coming up. Steve McQueen rode motorcycles very, very well. A lot of people remember probably doing a lot of his own stunts in the Great Escape. But a lot of these young actors, up-and-coming actors, were getting into car racing. And as a lot of people start with the Cooper Minis, back then, 1-liter engine. And so they would have these beautiful, souped-up racing versions of Cooper Minis. I guess we call them Mini Coopers now. And it was James Garner and Steve McQueen and David McCallum and a lot of these young guys. And unlike some people, if they pulled up, I think my dad was a little bit easier about letting them park back there. I don't remember them being big customers of the bike shop, but I definitely remember seeing their souped up Broncos, their souped up Mustangs, and their souped up Cooper Minis as a real fun and spectacular part of growing up in that environment. And this was a clientele that would often come into the bike shop, buy a bicycle, and bicycles back then, it was kind of hard to put them in the backseat of a car or put them in the trunk or whatever. So it was not uncommon, especially if somebody bought 2 bicycles or something like that, to ask if the store could deliver the bicycle. And so that's how my older brothers before me and myself, shortly after getting our driver's licenses at age 16, became delivery boys for Hansort lightweight bicycles and delivered to a lot of very interesting places. So the night of the murders was my 18th birthday. On my 18th birthday, I'd been to the beach with my girlfriend and a bunch of our friends in Santa Monica, Sorrento Beach, right near the Jonathan Club. And I'd come back from the beach and I went to the bike shop and I said, "Hey, Dad, it's my birthday and I want to take my girlfriend, Janice, out to a movie for my birthday. So can I have the van?" And my dad said, "Yes, you can borrow the van, but you have to make a delivery. It's up Benedict Canyon, and we lived up Benedict Canyon. You have to make a delivery, but you can't make the delivery right now, like 5:30, 6 o'clock on your way up the canyon to get ready, because as I understand, they're going to be out to dinner and they won't be home until after 7:30. So you have to deliver the bicycle on your way back down the canyon on the way out to pick up Janice. She lived on Rockingham out in Brentwood. So I would drop off the bicycle. Earlier that week, on Wednesday, so that'd be August 6th, Abigail Folger and Wojciech Frykowski came into the bike shop and bought for Abigail a very nice British bike, a Raleigh. And my father delivered the bicycle that Wednesday evening on his way home up the canyon. They contacted the store either Thursday or Friday and said, "Hey, we got the wrong color. It's not the one that we wanted." And my dad said, "No problem. I'll stop by and do the exchange this evening." And that's when they said, "Well, we won't be home until after dinner or whatever." And so I got assigned to do the bicycle exchange and try not to arrive until after 7:30, after they would have arrived home from dinner.